Graham, thank you so much for that kind introduction. Long but kind. And I'm honored by your invitation and delighted to be your guest this evening. I've heard a good deal about this school and about you. Everything I've heard has been wonderfully positive. You are a gifted community committed to a vision of justice and unity. I've heard nothing but rave reviews, and it's an honor to be given this time with you. One of my high school memories is of speakers who came in to talk to us. Invariably, they would tell us that we were the leaders of the future, that tomorrow belonged to us, that we should study hard and work diligently so we could be prepared to take on responsibility. Later. It was always later, always about the future. And, I always wondered, what did they think I'm doing now? I was a good student. I was my class president as a freshman and a sophomore and a junior and a senior. So 4 years running, I was class president. So I thought I might be doing something of value then. I don't know. Friends I made in our high school are still friends today. We've moved from swapping letters to trading emails and from discussing our next date to wondering about our children. But friends then are still friends now, and memories made there are also still with me. It was a very real time. We weren't living in the future. Part of the reality of that time is that most of us had secrets. Life wasn't always perfect. For example, I don't remember telling others that alcohol was an issue in our home, or that the abuse of alcohol had adults doing things we wish that they would not do. I did not broadcast my feelings of guilt or the empty place in my stomach left when my birth father abandoned us, or my adolescent sense that I might have done something wrong, or that perhaps the class president was worthless. I did not tell them my sleepless, grinding agony over the fact that I had gained 5 pounds and felt I was too fat to be loved. I don't know if I recognized that I was a pleaser and that I spent my time looking for ways to please others, even when I could not please myself. It's safe for me to say all this now because I'm no longer in high school. I've aged, and with age, thankfully, has come some growth, some maturity, and some change. The greatest change I've undergone is this. I believe I have, in my 60s, learned to accept myself as I am. Or maybe it's that I'm learning how to accept myself. Some days I look at myself and I'm pretty unimpressed. Other days I look again and think, well, okay, I'm okay. But mostly, I'm willing to accept myself as I am. It has taken me 65 years to get here. But I'm here, and I'm really grateful for that. I wanted you to hear the part of my story that isn't perfectly flattering, because I want you to know that while I'm interested in what you will become after high school, I'm more interested in what and who you are right now. If I could, I would spend time alone with each of you and listen to whatever of your life story you'd be willing to tell me. What I'd ask is this: tell me the truth. Tell me your real story. Share with me, if you can trust me, not only what you believe, but what you doubt. Not only who you love, but who you fear. Not only what stirs a smile across your face, but also what makes you weep when no one is looking. Tell me why you hope, why you grieve, what makes you angry, and what makes you giggle. Although we won't have time to do all that, I can do this. I can tell you parts of my story and how it has changed me. And you can use my story to measure your own, to compare how we're alike and how we're different, and to decide which of my changes you can accept and which you hope to avoid. Let me start a few decades ago, in 1991. I'd already been a television producer and the first woman advance man to work in the White House for the President of the United States. I'd moved out of the public limelight to a relatively quiet life in Florida, where I had poured myself into my art and my two children. Max, my oldest son, was 3. Zachary, his little brother, was 1. I had expected my marriage to be, if not an eternal honeymoon with my husband Brian, at least a workable partnership. Unfortunately, it was neither honeymoon nor partnership. The dust from our divorce had barely settled when I learned that Brian had brought something especially difficult into our marriage: the virus that causes AIDS. By the fall of 1991, I was a single mother. I'd been infected with the virus that causes AIDS. There was no cure and no effective medication. My sons were soon to lose their father. He died in 1993, and then they would lose me. Merry Christmas, 1991. In the decades between then and now, we've seen some massive changes. Then there was neither email nor Twitter, neither Instagram nor Facebook. Now we know them all. Then there was no effective medication to extend the life of someone with AIDS. Today, medications offer some people with AIDS a chance at old age. Many of the lessons I learned in the early 90s are still valid today. Owing to a weird accident of sociology, AIDS first exploded in the US within the gay community. Prejudice reserved for gay men was quickly extended to anyone with AIDS, seen not only as a lethal disease, but as a dirty one. I soon realized that I'd been infected with a dirty disease, others associated with dirty needles, dirty sex, and dirty people. Raised in a culture where desirable people are clean and women you would want to date are clean and pure, I suddenly discovered I was no longer seen by others as I had been seen before. I had become a modern-day leper, worthy to be avoided, judged, and shunned. The experience of being excluded by communities where I'd previously been welcomed was huge for me and hugely instructive. I have never forgotten the experience, nor will I. And when, in January 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I realized what a vast difference exists between having AIDS and having cancer. I finished my memoir a few months ago, a book entitled Messenger, and I described the experience this way. What I've learned with considerable surprise is that we never outgrow our need to be valued and nurtured by our community. We never graduate. Community shapes us as children and sticks with us as adults. Whether we like it or not, community matters. It matters deeply. We wake to it every morning, live within it every day, go to bed where we wonder about it during the night. When word that I had cancer went out through my community, people rallied. Those at a distance sent emails and cards and letters. My room filled up with flowers, and my stomach really couldn't manage all the chocolates. The outpouring of affection and concern was overwhelming. It was amazing, and it was healing. My let me know that I mattered. By contrast, 21 years earlier, when I'd been diagnosed with AIDS, I very gingerly admitted my diagnosis to a few close friends, my eyes averted and my voice lowered. My room did not fill up with flowers. If anyone sent candy, I don't recall it. Meanwhile, cancer elicited a thundering, "We love you," from every nook and cranny of my community. AIDS had drawn the terrible silence of a community letting me know that it didn't know what to say. For 10 years following my diagnosis with AIDS in 1991, I worked on dying. I made friends with others in the AIDS community. They were all dying. I made peace with my husband, who had infected me with AIDS. I eventually lay next to Brian, holding him and loving him as he died. I gave speeches and interviews, produced artwork and books, and the theme I wove through all of them was death and dying. As best I could, I organized my children's lives so that when I was gone, they'd have people they could trust to finish what I could not complete. I wrote and rewrote my will. When in the late 1990s it appeared that new drugs, the class of pharmaceuticals known as ARVs, antiretrovirals, might extend the lives of those of us with AIDS, I did what most people with AIDS did. I doubted it. We'd been led down that path before with a drug known as AZT. For a year or maybe two, it would alleviate some symptoms and give you the illusion that you were well. Then in a thundering crash, the virus would roar back, more virulent and destructive than ever. We imagined that ARVs were nothing more than the new AZT. You know, believe it or not, once you've accepted that you're dying, you don't want to be teased into believing that you are going to live again. You fear that if it's not true, if it's just false hope, you'll have to accept death again. Once is really enough. No single factor, no one gift carried me through the years of death and dying. Physicians who were brilliant and caring mattered. My children brought prayers in the evening and hugs in the morning. They mattered. My mother would call and tell me jokes, some too colorful to be shared in mixed company. She mattered. Friends came to bring laughter or comfort. They mattered too. If I were to look to a single source of hope and of grief, I would be looking at the same mosaic. It was my community. What I learned in those years of death and dying was that my experience in high school and my experience after high school, my community mattered. It mattered very much. And what was true of me in high school is true of you. You matter, now and here, not just in the future or in some other place. You matter here tonight. You matter because the person sitting in front of you is lonesome and trying to pretend that she isn't. You matter because the noisy boy always telling jokes is also the frightened boy who fears no one really likes him. You matter because the teacher about whom we say disgraceful things is desperately in need of support and affection. You matter because this person is broken. That person is wounded. All people are vulnerable. And you have to value them, embrace them, heal them. The power you have for them, they have for you. You remember the day you wore that weird shirt and they laughed at you? Of course you do. The evening she said you weren't very pretty. The day they said they were going without you. The week they treated you as if you were not worthy. Of course you remember. Because in those moments, you were broken. You were wounded. You were vulnerable. And they had the power to value, to embrace, to heal. We are in this together, you and I. We are a community. In a very human sense, it's all we really have. I learned the power of community during the years of dying. When stigma kept the neighbors from inviting my sons into their homes, I knew the power that the community held over our family. When protesters lined the streets to scream hatred at those of us with AIDS, I pulled my children closer to myself, wishing they could hear only me and not the fanatics. But as surely as shrapnel blew through the crowd at the finish line in Boston, so surely the hatred, the discrimination, the stigma and judgmentalism, all of it, found us and we found it. But we found something else as well. We found that there were those who had the courage to reach out to us with acceptance and affection. In the weariness of our weeks and the lonesomeness of our searching, we were given rest by the company of good friends and gentle people. Our lonesomeness gave way to laughter when a community friends would gather around us and they would say that we belonged. In a few weeks, some of you will leave for Malawi to bring Verde Valley's message of hope and healing to the people of that glorious land. If I've read our calendars correctly, you'll land in Malawi just as I leave Zambia for South Africa. You'll visit Open Arms Orphanage during the days I visit Mother Teresa's orphanage and hospice. Those of us who will be in Africa will have an opportunity to learn, to serve, and to make a difference. I'm so grateful for that. But no less important are those who will stay here and await our reports. We are the fortunate ones who become the ambassadors of hope, but they are the community that works for peace and struggles for acceptance. Those who stay home have the less glorious calling to care, not for the grateful stranger, but for the cranky neighbor, the person who hurt our feelings and ignored our pain. 9 students and 3 faculty landing in Africa will have a unique opportunity to prove the difference one person can make. But scores of students and dozens of faculty who do not go to Africa will be called to the greater challenge, making a difference here, at home, day after day after day. I'll be with friends in South Africa who are in the family of Nelson Mandela. The world knows the difference one person can make each time we read his story. Sentenced to life imprisonment and hard labor, he refused to break. Told he would die if he did not recant his calls for equality and justice, he held his integrity and he labored on. In the end, he emerged from prison an elderly hero, soon to be elected first president of a freed South Africa. And his message to us all is this: to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. The most crying need of the human race in 2013 is for leaders who will invest in their communities. Whether their community is a student population, a national audience, or the global arena. What we need most is leaders who will, Mandela-like, adopt a lifestyle proving that what we give matters more than what we accumulate, that how we care for others matters more than how we find ease for ourselves. It's the calling we all put off. Teenagers will make a difference after they've finished high school. Young adults will make a difference after they've married and settled down. Midlife adults will make a difference after the children are raised and the bills are paid. Older adults will make a difference when they are retired and have more time. Finally, we don't make a difference because it's too late. For reasons I do not know and frankly cannot imagine, my life has been spared. I've been told I would die of AIDS. I've known the surgeon's knife for cancer. I've weathered my share of depression and grief, and here I am, calling you to consider why it is that your life, whether it be long or brief, has also been spared. Here's my belief. Whether you are student or faculty, parent or administrator, friend or stranger, I believe you and I were placed here to care for others. When you embrace that purpose, you'll hear your heart celebrate. Your soul will whisper that it is satisfied. You will never, never, never find enduring joy by serving yourself. But we will always, always, always be satisfied when we make a positive difference serving others. If you want to join me in a simple campaign for building community, please do. You can like me on Facebook, or you can link to my social media sites from maryfisher.com. Can you believe that? I'm not hard to find, and I sure would welcome your company. And it's why I came tonight, looking for leaders who will lead now, not just tomorrow, who will lead here, not just in distant lands. I came looking for people, young and old, who would be willing to inspire others by their passion for justice, their obsession with healing, their eagerness to meet the needs of those most despised, most rejected, least admired within the community. When I go limping after some celebrity, I am not leading. When I seek out the boy too shy to offer his name, the girl who believes she will never be pretty enough, when we lead by serving those who others have turned away from, then we become the inspiration for a community of courage. Before he ascended to the presidency, Mandela led when he lifted the broken bodies of fellow prisoners from the rock piles where they had fallen. It was there that he proved his leadership. I came looking for leaders who are willing to risk being hurt by loving. We make ourselves vulnerable when we reach out to care for those who are troubled and angry, fearful and depressed. The poor are not always grateful. We who suffer are not always lovely. Often we are cantankerous and ornery. Those who have the courage, stamina, and will to reach out, pull us toward them and hold us. Such leaders are rare, and they are remembered. 50 years beyond my high school, I could tell you the names of those who led by loving those who were the least lovable. I came looking for those who would serve. Leadership is not about being triumphant and being adored. It is about being humble, and kind, gentle in our questions, and truthful in our embrace. It is not about what we can take from others, but what we can give to them. Not about seeking our own ambition, but about serving the needs of others. If you're willing to inspire others, love others, and serve others, you are well equipped for leadership. All you need to do now is lead. And if any among us really believe that life is too hard, too unjust, too unfair, too corrupt for us to make a difference, I would offer this ancient Sufi tale with which I ended last year's memoir. Past the seeker as he prayed came the crippled and the beggar and the beaten, and seeing them, the Holy One went down into deep prayer and cried, "Great God, how is it that a loving Creator can see such things and yet do nothing about it?" And out of the long silence, God said, "I did do something about them. I made you." Grace to you.